You are tuning into the Lehigh Low Ego, High Impact Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Volkan Emre, along with a dynamic team of Kellogg School of Management alums. We are here on a shared mission to uncover the mindset that drives impact and success. On Lehigh, we have thought-provoking conversations with incredibly successful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and investors from around the globe. We uncover the mindset that drives them, allowing them to make a high impact without losing themselves to ego. Now, let's get started with today's episode. Hi from Miami. Today, we are with Joe Manone, President and CEO of Rite-Hite Products Corporation. Rite-Hite is a world leader in the manufacture, sale, and service of loading dock equipment, industrial doors, safety barriers, HPLS fans, industrial curtain walls, and more. For over 2 decades, Joe has been instrumental in steering Rite-Hite's remarkable growth. He is a distinguished alum of the Kellogg School of Management's Executive MBA program, and he holds a bachelor's in finance from Arizona State University. Beyond his impactful career, Joe is also an accomplished guitar player and singer known for his passion for uniting people and crafting unforgettable experiences. I'm privileged and excited to host this episode with Kinshuk Sahaya, a distinguished neurologist and a fellow Kellogg Executive MBA alum. Joe, thank you very much for being on the Lehigh Low Ego, High Impact Mindset podcast. It's definitely an honor to have you with us here today. And what makes this episode unique is I'm co-hosting this episode with Kinshuk, and we all are from the Executive MBA program. I hope that it's going to be a very nice and fun discussion. So thank you very much, Kinshuk, for joining.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So as always, we will start with the warm-up questions, rapid-fire questions. And we are going to be asking one by one. Joe, are you ready?
Sounds good. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dogs or cats?
Got to go dogs. Easily.
Mountains or beaches?
I love them both, but it's got to be beaches. It's got to be
Our
beaches.
call.
By the way, I forgot to mention, we are in Miami right now.
Yes, we are.
For a Kellogg Alumni Symposium. I think you kind of have to say beaches when you're in Miami, right?
Well, I do here, and I spend a lot of time here in Florida, but I also have a place in Phoenix, so that's where the mountains come in. So between mountains and beach, I think I'm both.
I see. Yeah. Okay. And then if we had this podcast in Phoenix, then you probably
might be a different answer.
Okay.
Depending on what time of the year.
Where does Milwaukee figure in?
Milwaukee figures in the summer and fall.
Good choice. Text or call?
Call. Yeah.
Music or podcast?
Got to go music just because I like playing guitar. But that's, certainly music.
You'll definitely talk about that. Yeah,
I'll be happy
definitely. PC or Mac?
That's a tough one. I'm split between them. I'm a Mac. I'd prefer Mac, but for business, it's all PC. So I think I got to go PC because it is business. But I'd prefer Mac if I had my choice.
I definitely agree with you. So what's worse, dishes or laundry?
I think dishes. I love to cook. That's one of the other hobbies I have is cooking. I don't like to clean up and do dishes. So my fiance is certainly involved with that, but she does a great job.
It's honestly great to hear that. So far, the vast majority of the people say laundry. And whenever I see dishes, I mean, I get happy because statistically, we are bringing yet another data point to this.
Are you going to do a statistical analysis?
Absolutely. Once we hit the statistically significant episode number, which is 50, I'm going to release these stats.
That'd be perfect. Yeah. Laundry, I don't mind as much, but the dishes is just a pain. Yeah.
What's the first app you open when you wake up in the morning?
Probably my Schwab app. Figure out where I was last night on my 401k.
Hopefully this morning was good.
Yeah, it's been good the past couple of weeks.
So, thank you for the rapid fire questions. Let's start with your background a little bit. Can you start giving our listeners a brief introduction to your background and your journey to be the CEO of Rite-Hite?
Sure, I'll be happy to. It's kind of a little bit of an anomaly. You don't hear too much these days about people working for the same company for 25, 30, 32 years, things of that nature. I was fortunate enough to start with this company, with Rite-Hite, out of college. And the journey, there are a lot of opportunities along the way that allowed me to kind of get to where I am today. First one being, I just started as a salesperson in the Atlanta area. I was down there for about 3.5 years. And then some of the opportunities that opened up, we were going to open up a new office in Jacksonville, Florida. I was one of the junior salespeople there in Atlanta. So it obviously went to some of the senior salespeople as far as an opportunity, which they all turned it down. And they got to me and I said, I'll take the opportunity, go start up an office from scratch down in Jacksonville. So I did that and was down in Florida, in Jacksonville area, North Florida, South Georgia area for about 6 years. And then another opportunity opened up in Toledo, Ohio, which was a very good office. And we made a change on some of the personnel that was there. And I switched companies, which was from Rite-Hite to a company called McCormick Equipment, which is our biggest distributor. So they go hand in hand. And moved from Jacksonville, Florida, which is a great place to live. And I'm a golfer too. And it's a great golf area, to Toledo, Ohio, which let me just tell you, the weather in Toledo is a lot different than the weather in Florida. So,
and the company Libby was headquartered there, right? Libby?
Libby is there. Yep. Libby Glass. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Owens, Illinois is also there, another glass company. So, I did move to Toledo, and that's one of those things that take the opportunity for the business. It was a better market. It was a bigger office, and I was there for about 4 years. From there was an opportunity with Rite-Hite for regional sales vice president for the West Coast, and they had sales offices all up and down the Western Seaboard, along with Phoenix and Salt Lake and branch office in Boise. So I ended up going back to Rite-Hite as a regional sales vice president for the whole West Coast. And at the time, coming from Toledo, they wanted to move me somewhere out west because that's where all my representatives are going to be. And there's a lot of opportunity there. I have family in Phoenix, and it'd be fun to live in the Bay Area at the time. But I said, I'm going to move back to corporate. I'll work out of Milwaukee and just be the road warrior and stay on the road all the time. And I did that because I knew that as more opportunities open up in the corporate office, I would be there for them, opposed to being offsite and being remote. So that's what I did. And then I did that for about 2.5 years. After kind of getting those offices going and everything, I moved on to a position for product manager for our largest operating company under Rite-Hite. Rite-Hite's basically a holding company with four distinct operating companies that manufacture, and then one operating company that is a distributor. So I went into product management. A lot of that had to do with new product development, coming out with new products, having a pipeline filled of products, so that over the next 2, 3, 4 years, we had products continually come to market, modifying existing products, and then new platforms. So did that for a couple of years, and developed a product line that was going to change kind of a little bit of our core products, of how we went to market with it, and some new features, and we had changed the manufacturing process for it. So I took that to market and became the vice president of sales for that product line nationally, and got that out to the sales force and to our customer base. And about 3 years later, came back to the operating company again as a vice president of marketing. And that was responsible for all the product management, all the engineering, which is kind of unique with our company at that time, because engineering reported to marketing, product development engineering. So I was responsible for all that, and then the strategy of how we go to market and how we strategize as far as our price points and all the typical things a product manager and marketing manager would do. So from there, after the retirement of the holding company CEO, the gentleman that was running the operating company I was in, he moved up to that position, and I took over as the president and CEO of Rite-Hite Products Corporation, which is where I stand today. So kind of a kind of that was a journey on the way up.
Wow, like it's really multiple regions, multiple functions, multiple roles. In the past, it's close to 3 decades right now, right? Yep. Your journey with them. And for the listening audience who might not be familiar with Rite-Hite, could you describe what Rite-Hite does and the primary industries it serves?
Sure. It's a family-owned business. It's private. And we are a global manufacturer and global distributor of industrial equipment. Some of the core products are products around the truck loading dock area. There are a group of products that are high-speed industrial doors, typically made out of fabric, but there's also hard doors, but they open and close at high speeds of 8 to 10 feet per second. We have a line of low-moving, high-volume industrial fans for different applications there. We also have fabric ductwork, so a brand called Duct Socks, which takes the place of when you have the sheet metal ductwork for HVAC systems and stuff like that. This is a fabric system that's more flexible and disperses the air better. So a bunch of different types of products, but they're all industrial based.
Mm-hmm. So, having spent my time at University of Michigan, I have to give you crap about spending time in Toledo, Ohio. So I'm glad that you decided to leave that place.
Well, Toledo is kind of like a southern suburb of Detroit. So, yeah.
Staying on Rite-Hite, what do you think sets Rite-Hite apart from its competitor in terms of product, services, and corporate philosophy?
Yeah, the founder of the business developed a product that was a niche product that wasn't anywhere in the marketplace. And it was a product that is designed to mechanically lock and communicate with the truck when it backs up to loading dock. So the truck doesn't depart, forklifts don't fall off the dock, and prevent any type of accident that can happen when a forklift with a person on is entering a trailer. So he developed that product, the founder. The second generation owner took it to the next level and really expanded it and grew the business in a bunch of different ways, but started with that product line and then grew the distribution because at the time, Rite-Hite did not own any distribution. They went through independent representatives. Now we own probably half of our distribution and that's growing as we speak. So we're buying up our distributors. So that's kind of the philosophy of product development, find a niche and expand it. And starting with the founder and the second generation owner, the corporate culture for products is we need to always be investing in product development, always be investing in new products and finding those niches in the marketplace to exploit. We take a very strong position on IP, on patents typically, and patent strategy. I have a team that works in our group that we're always monitoring our patent strategy along with our competitors. We'll put blocking patents in place if we see competitive stuff that doesn't work, and we'll patent some fixes to their stuff and make sure that we own those, we're protected on those. And then we won't come out anything to market with anything unless we have some protection on it, so that we end up in a unique position. We're the leaders in the industry for innovation, and we are also the leaders in the industry and the marketplace.
So R&D is the backbone of your company. Can I say that?
I think that's a fair statement because even in times, in tough times of recession and everything, we do not cut R&D budgets.
So with that, I think you are involved in these R&D activities in a very rapidly changing set of industries, I would say. And how has the industry or industries maybe have changed since you started your career? And what impact have these changes had on Rite-Hite and its R&D and other activities?
Yeah, just to kind of put in perspective, industrial equipment is a slow-moving industry. So unlike tech, unlike software where you're constantly changing quickly, regulations and the things take a long time to change. Trucks don't change, like trucks backing into loading docks don't change immediately. There's kind of several years, 10, 15, 20 years they can take for trailers and trucks to actually change their designs, and they're not drastic. So what I've seen from the changes and what we've had to adapt to are changes more industry specific. So there was a big push in the early 2000s, the global supply chain of having containers on trailers, because there's so much of the containerization of the world with the economy and the supply chain. So now, instead of trucks backing up to loading docks, there are more containers coming off ships, going on rail, going onto a chassis of truck, ending up at a loading dock. That changed how docks are designed a little bit and what type of equipment are used at those locations. Another big one is the security. After 9/11, there was a lot of concern on security of two things. One, when trucks were being loaded and unloaded, but two, the making sure that the loads in the freight was not contaminated anyway, and especially in the food industry. There's a lot of concern that if you had a trailer and there's food in there, someone could put something in there, contaminate it, ends up in the general population, and that would not be a good thing. So there's ways that the food industry wanted to have more security at the dock, so we had to change products a little bit to address some of those things. We had to design loading docks that the doors of the trailer would open into the building, and they weren't open outside of the building, and then closed in the building and then locked. So you maintain the cold chain if it's a cooler or freezer type situation, but then you also control the security side of it too.
So very exciting changes that you have witnessed, and it's still evolving. It sounds like very exciting to be in your situation and role. So with that, let's have a transition into mindset and leadership, and who you are as a leader. What kind of mindset did you have back when you first joined Rite-Hite, and how has it changed, or has it changed at all in the past 2-3 decades?
Well, it definitely has changed. When you go in as a salesperson and you're doing that for 10 years roughly, you think you know everything, and but you're a salesperson, so what your motivations are and what your goals are, in presenting the company product and building relationships and developing your career that way is one thing. When you get into the business side and the what I call the operations side of the business, whether it was the product development or the manufacturing or anything else, now you're working with teams, cross company teams, and everybody's different. So what I've found throughout my career, and I learned early, is that I don't know anything. I don't know everything. I know things, but not everything. And I need to be careful that I'm getting everybody's opinion and not inserting my opinion, certainly at the beginning. So that was tough at the beginning, coming out of the sales side of it. You're used to driving a lot of initiatives. You're used to driving yourself. You're used to driving orders and projects and getting things installed and getting things properly taken care of for the customer. And when you work with teams, it's a lot different. And I think we've all been through this situation before. So it made me take a step back and look at how I was working with different teams. And I found out real quick that there's a lot smarter people out there than me. And I need to make sure that they stay smarter than me, because there's things that they look at, there's point of views they look at, there's knowledge they have that might be a blind side for me. And I think early on I learned that. Now my leadership style is very open, extremely empathetic, and I've developed over the last 15 years, 20 years, really good teams working for me. And I don't consider working for me. I consider us all working together and getting to the point that where we can go into the room and talk about an issue, and everybody's going to have an opinion. So I let everybody speak. And most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to make the decision. They're going to make the decision how we're going to move forward on different issues. If I have 10 sets of eyes looking at me, I know I got to make the decision then. But typically we'll get around the room and we all buy in, but we can argue the point. We can be critical of different areas and different ways to go. And to me, that's put the strength in the team. And so my leadership style isn't a top down. It's more collaborative. It has been. And I kind of value that because I have a lot of leaders that have gone out into people who've worked for me that have gone out into different areas of the business and did very well and carry some of those same traits.
So you talked about your career starting in sales, and knowing you, I know you are an ideal salesperson. And I see that charisma. For somebody who's early in the career, what do you think is your skill sets in sales that you brought on as a leadership, and maybe the blind sides that were also there early on that you brought on?
Yeah, it's a good question, Kinshuk. One of the things I think from a value standpoint that I learned early being a salesperson and I use today is that the most important part of in our business, and I think most businesses, is your customer. And being in sales, you're in direct contact with, you know who the customer is. You're in direct contact with them. You can look them in the eye. We don't do as much of that anymore, but when I do training for young people, for young salespeople, you got to get in front of them. Staying on a computer or trying to just send things around or doing it on your phone, you got to somehow get in front of your customer and look them in the eye and see what reflects back, because that's how you're going to learn what's going on. If you're on the project, if you have competitors on the project, what really are the motivators of the customer? And a lot of it for our equipment, because it's industrial based and there's a technology piece to it, a technical piece to it. You don't have to be an engineer to apply it, but you do need to apply the products properly. You need to take a look at different applications and things like that. So you got to get out there and you got to be with them. And that's what gets missed when you start developing products or you start running the business. Is the concern is losing touch of what the customer really needs, because there's so many different layers at that point. So being in the field was critical for me because I spent so much time with customers. I enjoyed doing it. And to this day, it's important for me to take some time during the year and get out on some sales calls with people and just get back down and see what they're doing and see what kind of questions salespeople have and how they're doing it, but also to get in front of customers and really look them in the eye and see, are we doing what we're supposed to? Do I see something that the customer needs, or does a salesperson see something the customer needs that they don't even know yet? And that's where these opportunities come up for us to kind of take those niches and exploit them.
Any plans to feature on the Undercover Boss show in the near future?
They all know me. There's no way I'd get away with it.
Let me pivot a little bit. And you talked about what kind of culture that you foster and you develop it at Rite-Hite. So if you could verbalize it in a little bit more, how do you maintain and improve the corporate culture at your organization?
We had a very strong corporate culture up to a very collaborative and a work hard, play hard, innovative, sales driven, customer focused culture up till COVID. And I don't think this is uncommon for other companies that are outward sales and marketing driven, where you turn off the economy for a while, you can't get in front of customers. And we continue to grow during COVID because of the nature of our business. We were a necessary product because of the supply chain and loading docks, and products still had to move, food products and distribution products. And Amazon was a big customer of ours, obviously, with all the stuff they were doing and all the e-commerce companies and big boxes. But once COVID hit, it was tough, but we kept hiring people because our business is growing. We continue to hire them. So we went through 2.5 years where no one ever met anybody. We had probably close to, hundreds of employees that were brand new that never met anybody. They met them on Zoom, but they never had a chance to have lunch with them and sit down and get to know them. So the culture was challenged. I'm not speaking about Rite-Hite. I think it's across the board. I talked to other peers of mine and other companies, and they're in the same situation. So now we're in the process of building that culture back with new employees that don't know the old culture. And it continues. It's a challenge as a leader to do that, but we continue to foster the same thing, taking care of our employees, new product development, innovation, doing the right thing for customers, and then valuing all of our employees is necessary.
I want to add something. to Kinshuk's question about culture. Rite-Hite is now a global organization, right?
Correct.
And all of the challenges you mentioned, they are not just like in the US, but then you had to basically reignite and rebuild like the culture again in the post-COVID environment. So what are the unique challenges of being in a global organization and going through this particular hardship and undertaking? And definitely, you guys are not the first one or the only one like in this space for sure. But being global adds another layer and complexity. So, a few words about like this particular global dimension.
Yeah, one of the things, and I didn't cover it in my background or my journey with Rite-Hite, but two of the other things that happened that I was responsible for, they asked me to be responsible for, was I was going to bring it up a little bit later, but doing our startup in China. In the mid-2000s, the owner made a commitment, we want to be in China. So we had to have some back and forth with our corporate offices in Milwaukee, and setting up a sales and service office and a kind of a headquarters for Asia, and then also a plant. And we set up the headquarters in Shanghai, and we put the plant in Kunshan, which is about an hour and a half outside of Shanghai. So I was going back and forth a lot, probably about 7 or 8 times a year to China, and getting that all set up and working with our managing director there. And that was a great eye opener from a global standpoint, because it's probably as far off from the U.S., just language and everything else. It's not like Europe. It's different than Europe going to Asia. So it gave me a really good opportunity of working closely with our managing director of trying to understand the cultures better, which made us more effective, I think, or at least myself, when I worked with the other cultures in Europe too, because we have plants throughout Europe and offices there. So one thing, every country has their own culture, and you're not going to change country culture. And I don't think we made the mistake of trying to do that early in Europe, but it was something we probably didn't recognize as much. We're not going to change the way they do business necessarily. We're not going to change what type of history and culture they have. They are who they are. We are who we are, being the U.S. But one thing that we did consciously talk about at the executive level was we have a Rite-Hite culture. It might not be the same business style and practices that are done in every country, but the culture of taking care of our people and coming out with new products and being driven for the long-term good business decisions versus a short-term, being private, we can do that. Those types of things we wanted to instill into all of our different locations, whether it was China, whether it was Europe. We have offices throughout Australia. So we have a footprint around the world that's pretty sought after from a distribution standpoint. And so that's really the challenge. And I think what we want to instill was we're not going to change those countries, and there's no way we'd want to do that. But we do want to instill the Rite-Hite culture.
So adaptability and change are important drivers of success for any organization. And sounds like from what you have shared, Rite-Hite has done that over the years with 9/11 and COVID. You made pivots and changes. So in the current environment, what do you think are the drivers of change within your industry? And more broadly, how do you decide what would be a possible threat or just noise?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's I'll take that from a couple different directions. One, the technology changes, right? Technology is changing so quickly. We can buzzword AI. We can talk about a lot of the different technologies that are out there. We started up a group about 6 years ago, Rite-Hite Digital Solutions, and the idea there was to take all of our products and connect them together and gather as much data as we can. Didn't know what to do with it yet. We had ideas what to do with it. We didn't know if we could monetize it or if it would be worth our engineering teams and product development teams. We know that'll be some value, but we started putting that together. So we're along the digital journey. So now we're looking at how do we get data from other things outside of our products, but when we're inside a plant and where our products are located, there's a lot of things that go on there. There's a lot of dynamics that happen around our products. How do we start gathering some of the data, even though it's not directly related to our products, but what's happening there? So we're in the process of that right now. We do have a digital platform. So that's a big one for where we're going. I think the other piece is when we take a look at how business is being performed, and I referred to this earlier about being in front of customers. A lot of customers don't want to meet with salespeople. They want to deal with the phone, or they just send me over something, or you might get a Zoom call out of them. But at the end of the day, it's not as valuable. And people are trying to sell all these products over the internet or try to do it digitally. There's going to be a happy medium for that. But when you're a premier supplier and you supply premium products with value-added features, it's easy to dumb the products down when you digitize them. And when you go e-commerce or you go online, or it just gives everyone a chance to really not see what the differences are and the value points, but go right the price. So our challenge is going to be to kind of work in the middle there. If we go down the digitized area, which we're going to some extent, we still need salespeople in front of customers selling the value of the products, because we're never going to compete with them on price. Everyone's always going to be lower. And that's not the position that they've staked out over the years.
I couldn't agree more with you regarding the value of human interaction. Even within my field, I see that every day. What core values do you expect from your middle management team?
Middle management is the toughest area of the business, right? It's the toughest area. And our challenge has been a lot of our good middle managers have that customer-facing experience sometime in their life. Now, that may be from the sales side, probably most of the time from the sales side, but they have to be effective. The better ones will have had some kind of customer interaction over the course of their career. So the challenge there is we have global, or we have company-wide initiatives, we have divisional, initiatives, and that kind of gets worked down a little bit. And then you have to take care of the customer on top of it. So one of the things that, I look for personally is people who have passion for the business, but really want to understand why they're doing the things they do. And to get people to middle management in our company, it's a little difficult because as salespeople or as some of the other positions, they can do very well financially. So if they're doing well financially, to make a move into management, it might be a wash, or they make less. So they have to have really kind of higher aspirations if they want to move up that ladder, which is fine. So I think that the challenge is they got to want to learn the business, and they want to be in business. And I think that's one of the challenges now we have with the younger generation, the 20 and 30-year-olds, that they don't necessarily want to climb the ladder like previous generations did, and they're kind of happy with what they do. If they can make a good living, they can make a really good living without having people report to them. Management would be so easy if it wasn't for people, and that's a challenge. Because now you have to motivate, you have to manage tasks and projects, and you got to kind of push the company line down and make it fun. And so I think our challenge, in your point, Kinshuk, is how do we make it fun for all the employees? That's the work hard, play hard attitude that Rite-Hite's always had. And, all the other the things on top of just business that we do for employees. We just built a new world headquarters in Milwaukee. It's 3 buildings. It's set up. It was designed for 2 things. One, customers. We bring about 600 to 700 customers a year into Milwaukee. And we have 2 different gorgeous showrooms in there. But it's also for the employees and for the younger generation employees. We got free lunch, free breakfast every day, big cafeteria. We have a basketball court. We have a golf simulator. We got the Papa Shot. We got a shuffleboard. We have a pool table. We got a ping pong table. And so we have all this area, which is really nice. Which is where the cafe is, and it looks all glass looking onto the city of Milwaukee. It's beautiful, right across the river from the Harley-Davidson Museum. And we attract a lot of young workers, which is what we built the building for. So we're bringing everybody in there, but that's from a culture standpoint, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the fun. We're looking for the work hard, play hard. We have the workout in the weight room in there, the exercise room, showers, so people can spend the day there, and just come and go as you please. But at the same time, we find people don't leave when they're there for the day they're there. We're feeding them and we're making it fun.
So Kinshuk, we need to visit Joe in Milwaukee and have a trip from Minnesota to Milwaukee to see the facilities.
Oh, definitely. I'm more interested because you have free food, free gym, and across the Harley. Are you hiring?
The offer is always open to everybody. Every Kellogg person I've ran into, I said, "Hey, I would love to get you to Milwaukee and show you our new headquarters."
We need to do that.
Yeah, definitely road trip to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
A personal question here. We all have faced adversity in our professional lives. Is it possible? Can you tell us about a time when you had a personal struggle or challenge that set you back, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think the softball question to that is really COVID. I mean, there's nothing that certainly my generation and the previous generations, they may have had some wars and stuff to go through, but for us to manage through that was very difficult. And it affected everybody in the country. And so I'm going to bring it down to Rite-Hite and everybody in the company, but it affected people at different levels of the organization much differently. And, there's a lot of, is the leader at the time while COVID was going on, I had a management team that's very strong, a very, very strong management team. And they're managing their areas, their different disciplines, and they're different people. But the fear of workers, whether they're on the line at the plant or they're marketing people or whatever, there's a lot of fear with the workers because people are dying, people are getting sick, loved ones, relatives were not going to the office, and there's a lot of negativity in the country about it. And that fear boils up. And so it gets to the management team and they have to continue to lead and they get fear. And then it comes back to me, right? So I have to absorb all that fear that people have. And that's where the empathy really, really came in, where I really at the time, there's a couple meetings I remember pulling people together and saying, listen, we're not going to talk about business. We're not talking about business. How's everybody doing? Where's everybody at? How's the family? And let them talk and just let them get it out. And I think I started doing that about once a week, just getting the team together. And I said, you got to do this with your teams too, and get anybody together and let them vent a little bit. But we gotta release some of this fear because it's affecting everybody. And actually, because of that, and after going through 2.5 years of the COVID stuff, that's why I did the Kellogg MBA. I needed a break. I needed something else. I was looking at Outward Bound or something, but something to say. I was starting to burn out because I had to keep everything level for everybody, and I didn't have a release.
I'm sure that your employees appreciated that a lot, especially for what you and your organization are doing during COVID for maintenance of supply chain. So the impacts that your organization has had on the overall population is huge. So a related topic, but more personal, is if you have had an example of a sliding door moment in your life. What we mean by sliding door is a time point where you took a path or made a choice that changed the trajectory of your career, as if out of stepping through a sliding door. What was that moment, and what did you learn from it?
I think there are a few, and I've touched on a couple of them already. But I think for me, it was, I took every opportunity I was given. And it didn't mean I was the first person they chose for the opportunity, but when it got to me, I took it. And I took on more responsibility than the jobs required. I think starting up the digital solutions group was one of them. I was the president of this company, president of Rite-Hite Products Corporation, CEO, and they said, we need to start this up. I said, I'll grab it. In addition to running the largest operating company for the company, I started that up. Earlier, when we needed someone to kind of take China and run with it, I knew it was going to take a lot of time. And I was young in my career with this position as a CEO. I said, I'll take it. I said, I got a good team under me. I got to put a couple more pieces in place. I did that, but I was able to spend the time in China and do it. But when those opportunities opened, I took them. And even though other people didn't want them or they were, why would you ever do that? Why do you really want to do that? I'm like, because it's going to give me more experience and I'm going to be a better leader because of it. And so I think those are a couple examples that, when you get opportunities, take them. And at the same time, I was very forthright with my superiors during my whole career that I wanted more. I can do more. I want to learn more. I want to learn other parts of the business. Even when I was VP of marketing, I was sitting in the manufacturing meetings, just trying to learn as much as I can on manufacturing. So when the time came, I was prepared for it. And I didn't have any type of anxiety. I didn't have any type of that like I wasn't ready. When the time came for these different positions and larger responsibility, I was ready for them.
So you talked about burnout as to how COVID resulted in burnout, and then you also talked about how you took every opportunity. The flip side of that can be that many of us have suffered through or have a risk of is going through burnout because sometimes we may be overexerting ourselves. How have you maintained that balance throughout your career? Do you have some tips for folks as to what they can do or what you have found useful?
Everybody's built different. There's different motivators. There's different activators for people. Mine was kind of knowledge of what I don't know motivates me. I wouldn't put myself in a lifelong learner, but I'm challenged by if I don't know what I want to go learn it. And if it's not interesting, I'll probably blow it off. But as long as there's interest in it and there's ability for me to learn something and maybe make a commitment to it and provide value from maybe my way of life and some of the knowledge I have, that's what kind of excites me and motivates me. So that's why these other opportunities, the digital solutions and the China, running the company, they all kind of motivated me. They added to it. The COVID hit me differently because it was emotional. It was fear. It was trying to keep everything going with our teams and knowing that it shouldn't be the first priority. Your family is your first priority. Your loved ones are your first priority, but we got to keep this machine kind of going just to keep everything happening for the business. And that was the tough, that's where I felt the burnout. I didn't feel it on taking on more responsibility. I felt it when it was emotional and it was negative emotion.
So you talked about the culture at Rite-Hite, and there are three important drivers of the culture. One of them is taking care of the employees, innovating, and then thinking about the long term, right? Like these are the three main drivers. So with that, you actually mentioned how important it is to take care of the employees, and you guys have a lot of employees, right? A question about the impact, but that goes beyond the organization, the social impact. So as a CEO, you have a professional and public opportunity to drive social and impactful change with your products and beyond. What are you most proud of in what you are doing with the influence and the ability to make change that you have today?
Well, I think starting back when we developed this dock lock product, which is it's called the dock lock, which locks the truck to the dock while it's being loaded unloaded. That was developed during the late 70s, introduced in the early 80s, and now is the Kleenex. Dock lock is like the Kleenex of the loading dock restraint business. We own that market. We developed it. We continue to protect the patents on it. We continue to innovate there and come out with new and proprietary solutions to lock trailers. That being said, it is a safety product. So we really branded ourselves early that we're saving lives. And that's what that product does. It doesn't prevent a cut. It doesn't prevent maybe from losing your hand. It saves lives. If somebody drives a forklift off the loading dock, there's a good chance, A, they're going to the hospital, B, they may or may not get out. So we took the position of safety. We took the position of protecting employees, making sure they go home to their families every night. And that's how the company was built from a safety standpoint. As we continued to acquire other companies and get in other areas of the business, it had to do more with like environmental solutions of keeping temperatures, keeping cold out and warm in, and whatever it was that the specific application required. And then the fans moving air, and then this duct socks product and what that did. So I think from that standpoint and an environmental standpoint, we tried to make the comfort of a plant or a distribution center more bearable for the workers that are there. Those are the products we sell. But I think the social impact, especially now with environmental concerns and what companies are trying to do there, everybody's going down the path of they want to provide a better environment. I think there's points where it gets overkill and it becomes a little bit too much marketing and too much commercialization without really thinking about, let's just do the right thing. If you just do the right thing, going through these other processes of having to, get your stamp and your approval and your certification, all this other stuff, that's just a moneymaker for somebody else. But if you're truly a company that wants to do the right thing for your employees, do the right thing for your customers, and do the right things to the extent you can of your suppliers, that's more important than some of the certifications that are out there. But we do go through everything we need to make sure that, we're trying to do as much as we can.
Coming to Kellogg, what impact do you think Kellogg has had or you see it having on your professional and personal life?
I never knew going into the program what it would be like coming out of the program. Like I said, I kind of went in to kind of get my mind off business. I wanted to do something. I thought going back to academia might be fun a little bit, especially since I've been in business for a while. What I did not appreciate as much, and we're sitting here, the three of us are sitting here today, and we all went through the program at the same time. I didn't appreciate the breadth and depth and quality of the network and the people that are in the program. I mean, I think about our cohorts and the quality of people. And then as we meet alumni, people that have been in the program, people behind us that are in the program now, the quality of the people and the breadth and knowledge is incredible. And I didn't expect that coming out. You hear from a lot of business schools, we got a great network. I'm sure they do. But Kellogg is special. Kellogg is special from that standpoint. And, even with my 30 plus years experience going through the MBA program, I learned just as much from everyone in the program that are different levels of their career. And I think people, I got a lot of questions being a CEO, so I think people are trying to learn from me too. But I got just as much out of our class and the questions they ask and how they think about it. And Kinshuk, you're a physician, and just the way you connect dots on a lot of the topics and stuff aren't ways that I ever thought of. And it really opened my eyes in a different way to say, we got to get some physicians out of the management team.
And so for 2 years, we sat next to each other in the classes. Yeah. And what I loved is when the professor would say something which I couldn't understand, which was not too infrequent, I would just lean over to Joe and just whisper as to what it was. And he would just give me one line or few words answer that would just clear it up for me. So that was great sitting next to you and having you as a coach throughout the program.
Yeah, I think that professionally, that was kind of this whole network and everybody you meet. Personally, now I hear Kellogg and I get this little flutter in my heart because I have this attachment because it was so positive. It came at the right time in my life. Coming out of COVID. We were fortunate, the three of us, to be the first cohort back from COVID. So we were were together. There wasn't anything online, and I wasn't going to do it if it was going to be online. We're all shaking our heads. No way.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
So I mean that face to face and the time we spend together really has built friendships and commitments to each other that we're going to have forever.
So that's really, I feel very similarly, but thank you very much for sharing your feelings and talks about the Kellogg impact so far, like on your life. Last question about the next generation of leaders. What advice do you have for future CEOs, CTOs, CMOs, COOs, and board members in training right now?
For the future generations, if I'm looking ahead 5, 10, 15, 20 years, those positions are going to be completely different than they are today. And I kind of made this comment with COVID too, going into it. I said, whatever happens with this, if we're out of business, or if we're locked down for 3 weeks, a month, a year, turned out to be almost 2.5 years, but business will never be the same coming back. It never will be. We're never going to run a business like we did in 2014 or 2015 ever. I mean, the whole remote piece is much different, and management we have to deal with that, with people working remote. Before COVID, it was in the office 5 days a week. I mean, and you were there, and you were having those the conversations. You're doing the pop-up brainstormings and everything. You're not doing that anymore. And so that remote and employees that are expecting remote, or at least some kind of hybrid program, which is what we have now, is going to change the way business runs. And I think the leaders and what you have up there, the CEOs and CTOs and CMOs, CFOs, it's going to change. It's changed already. And so I think those positions, leadership positions, management positions, executive positions, supervisor positions, they're all in the state of flux. And I think 5 years, certainly 10, but 5 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to say, no, it wasn't like 5 years ago. It's changing. And how you motivate people, how you get projects done, how you build culture. And you've asked a bunch about culture, and the culture is never going to be the same as it was. But how do you build a culture when you have some remote workers, some hybrid workers? Companies are growing. It's going to be more difficult, and the cultures are going to be different than they were in the past. I don't think there's one company that can say, "Hey, we picked up. We're a year past COVID now. We're back to the office, or we're doing a hybrid, and we got the same culture we had in 2017." There's no way. There's no way. So I think that's my advice to the future generations of leaders, whether they're working their way up in their career or they're at executive level already, is be prepared to change and modify what's needed for your business, for the marketplace, and for what those future positions are going to be doing, because it's going to be different.
Joe, thank you very much for being with us today. This was a wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's great spending time with you guys.
Thank you for diving deep with us on another episode of Lehigh, Low Ego, High Impact Mindset. Join us every week as we discover the stories, strategies, and insights that will empower you to grow personally and professionally. Stay inspired and catch you in the next one.